Hi, my name is Cy Porter, and this tutorial is about drawing human eyes. And if you have a little bit of time, please check out my animation work and illustrated film at solomation.com. Also, I have a animated short that the new one comes out every 2 weeks. It's called Fiddler Fred at fiddlerfred.com. Thank you for those who have checked them out. And so, what I'm doing is drawing two eyes here, or actually, what I'm doing is talking while I'm watching myself drawing the eyes because I forgot to plug the mic in. So, this is a dub over. Anyway, so eyes, it's very important to look at the 3D quality of eyes. Think in 3D when you draw in 2D. That is incredibly important when it comes to drawing eyes. As you can see here, I've got two eyes, and I want to demonstrate how one eyeball is a lot smaller than the other one. One thing I see is that people will draw eyes, and just because the plane on the front of the face is flatter for the eyes, they'll draw eyes the same size when one eyeball is further away. And you'll make your eyes pop more if you make one eyeball larger than the other. And not a great difference in size, but just a little difference can make a huge difference in your drawing. So the 3D the eyeball is the most spherical shape on the body, but most of it is hidden under the eyelids. And if you want to get good at shadowing the eye, and the whites of the eyes do have a lot of shadow to them. They're like a sphere. So one thing you can do is you can get like a ping pong ball, put it on a table, throw a light on it, and draw the shadows, and you'll have a much greater understanding just how much eyes are shadowed. And the way their shadowing of the eye reflects the spherical form. So it looks like here what I'm doing is showing that the eyeball is mostly covered up by the eyelids. And I think what I was going to do next was describe the shape of the iris and pupil. So looks like I'm drawing in the pupil here. And yep, okay, sure enough. See, the iris, there's a clear lens over the eye, and where the iris and pupil are at, that lens bulges out, and that bulging out is going to affect the shape of the eyelid draped over the eyeball. So this bulging out is the one visible place where the eyeball stops being spherical. It definitely changes its shape. And this is going to have an effect on how the eye looks from the side when you're drawing the iris and pupil from the side. And it will also change the shape of the eyelids around the eye, because that bulging of the iris and pupil are going to push the eyelids out and effectively change the shape of the eyelids. And so being aware, wherever you draw the eyes looking, they are going to change the shape of the eyelid. And it looks like what I'm doing is drawing an eyeball up here for some reason. We might find out. Let's see. Okay, see, so what I'm talking about here, or what I'm drawing here, is that as you a lot of people, when they draw the the iris moving around looking in the eye, they'll keep it spherical when in fact it changes shape depending on where it's facing. So if you have it from the side, it's going to look more like a kind of like a plate from the side. You see how I'm drawing it there? And if you look at it from the front, it's very much like a circle. And you can see how when I drew that, I like where the little, the time, what do you call it, sand, where I'm drawing right now. It's like you can see some of the eye beyond the iris, but um, it is pushing the eyelids out, and that sphere is where the iris is at. It's changing the shape of the eyelid. It's a good thing to keep in mind. It really will make it easier to know how to draw the eyelids around the eye. So that's another way that the 3D, the fact that eyeballs are 3D really show up in the drawing, even though a drawing is two-dimensional. So then I'm gonna wonder what I'm gonna demonstrate next here. Looks like I don't know, kind of, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. Let's see. Looks like I'm going over here to the iris, and okay, so the pupil is receded. It's closer to the surface of the eyeball, so you can see it as you see it from the side. The clear lens is going to stand away from it, and it's going to, you see how I'm drawing the pupil veering towards the right side of the iris? Well, that's because the pupil is receded in the eyeball. So as the eye looks away from you, you'll notice more that the pupil is sunken down in the iris, and it's not, you see how now this iris here, it's sunken down too. So you'll see as the eye looks away from you, those two things, the iris and the pupil will stay on the surface of the most spherical part of the eyeball and recede down compared to the lens that stands off of it. So the pupil will appear to, if the eye looks left, draw the pupil more towards the right. If the eye looks right, draw the pupil more towards the left, because it's receded. And the upper eyelid is at much more of an arch than the lower eyelid. The lids rest on top of the eyeball, and you want to remember that and make the eyelids, here's the skull here, and most of the eyeball is going to be hidden away in the skull, and the eyelids are going to cover the eyeball in the front, and the eyelids are 3D objects too. They're going to stand off from the eyeball, and they are going to, if the eyes are completely open, the top lid's going to have more of an arch to it. But as the eyes close, imagine that eyelid is draped over the eyeball and will follow the shape of the sphere. So like the lower, see, there's the general shape of the, here's the general shape lower lid, there's the lower lid there, and here's the upper lid here. You see the upper lid has much more curvature to it. There's the upper lid there, and the lower lid is much flatter, more like the horizon. So both lids are draped over the eyeball, and where the lower lid is at makes it appear that it has much less curvature than the upper lid, which the upper lid does most of the movement. And think of it like the garage door. It's the one that is draped over the eye that will descend down to cover the eyeball. And it's much bigger than the lower lid. You know, the lower lid goes into the tissue of the cheekbone. Um, not whereas the upper lid covers much more, extends down to cover much more of the eyeball. And so before, there's a little flap at the top where it goes under a flap of skin when your eyes are totally open. And let's see, what am I doing here? So you got okay, looks like I am, oh, the rim. Okay, what I'm doing is describing the rim of the eyelids. Remember that eyelids are 3D and they have rims, just like the rim of a teacup. So if you're close up on the eye and have detail, remember to add the rims. And also the lower lid, that rim catches a lot of light, a lot more light than the eyeball itself. So remember that, you know, when you're drawing eyes, the top of the upper lid and the rim of the lower lid are going to catch the most light in most cases. So remember to bring that out in your drawings. And again, you can see that the eyelids stand out very much from the eyeball itself. And you want to think of them as like, have you ever like taken a piece of clay and flattened it out and then like draped it over, cut a piece of it and put it over something? That's the way the eyelids stand off from the eyeball. It's very 3D, and the more you think in 3D, the more your drawings are going to show up. Here I'm demonstrating the lower lid does not move at all as much as the upper lid, except in the case when you're looking down and the lower lid has closed to a position where normally the eyes would be closed, but in this case the lower lid opens downward and you can see the iris of the eye peeking out down there. So that's one case where the lower lids do move. In most cases, the lower lids do not move that much. It's mostly all the movement of the upper lid does all the moving. The other case is the smiling. When your eyes are smiling, the muscles around the eyes contract, and you get the bowing upward of the lower lid. So if you want to make your character smiling, you kind of create a little bowing upward of that lower lid. But for the most part, the upper eyelid is doing a lot more movement than the lower lid. For the most part, the lower lid is pretty much just there. It doesn't have much curvature to it, and it's just kind of like holding the eyeball. That's what it does. And it's in a lot of cases, it's the upper lid that is moving around, and then the iris and pupil, of course, are moving around when the eye is looking. And the upper lid is the one that changes in shape the most. And I think that's it. And so I hope this helped. Again, please check out my illustrated film at solomation.com, and also check out Fiddler Fred, and I hope you have a good day.